So, which embassies and consulates are open and working properly? Which embassies are scheduling interviews? As always, this is now March 2023, and we're doing our usual embassy roundup. So, let's talk about it. Hello friends, and welcome back to Immigration Channel. This is where we explain complicated immigration matters in short, simple videos. And in this video, as always, we're going to go through embassies and consulates worldwide, give you an update based on what we know, which ones are open, which ones are not working properly, which ones are delayed, so you know, have a better idea what to do with your case and what to expect in this month and the following months. Before we do that, if you're here for the first time, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, click the notification bell so you don't miss any of our videos, and also give us a big like so YouTube will be able to show this video to more people just like you. So before we jump into the individual country analysis, I want to give you a little bit of an idea of what's happening right now. As I mentioned to you, in February, the backlog at MVC increased more than beginning of the year, and this is a result of more cases that are now being processed at MVC that are now ready to be scheduled for interviews, but yet those embassies and consulates are not able to accept the capacity at the moment. And this is something that the State Department is working actively to make sure that it happens. For example, increase more staffing, make those embassies and consulates more available for appointments, because they need to open more appointment slots to allow the National Visa Center to send more cases. What happened in February, many of these embassies were not opening enough interview slots, and as a result, you've seen the increase in the backlog in MVC. It was an increase of about 5% or so, but still it's quite significant, because imagine if they're not going to be able to reduce it by significant amounts, it's going to get worse and worse. And the prediction that we were going to see an improvement this summer is probably not going to happen. I still believe it will happen. I still believe that things are going to start moving a little bit better after April, because you can see already that more and more of these embassies are reopening, and not only reopening, but working in higher capacity to be able to move those cases through the roster and be able to work directly with National Visa Center to be able to send them more cases for interviews. So let's jump right in and start with the US embassies in India. Main embassy over there in Mumbai, who's processing immigrant visas and non-immigrant visas, has resumed full visa routine services. It's been already like this since the beginning of the year. The same is applicable to US consulates in New Delhi and in Chennai. They're both open and processing cases. In fact, they've been processing the most student visas than any other embassy or consulate in the world, which is great. In terms of immigrant visas, we definitely have seen an increase in processing in Mumbai. More and more people are getting appointments, but it's still quite slow, and it's very difficult to predict when people are going to be able to get their appointments. It is also a little bit frustrating because there's no consistency at this embassy. They are responding to emails fairly quickly, so if you have a case that is being sent to Mumbai, you should communicate with them directly via email, and hopefully you'll be able to resolve any situation that you have if your case is in fact at the US Embassy. In terms of non-immigrant visas in Mumbai, they're processing H-1B appointments, O-1 visas, J-1 visas, and all student visas. It is really important to coordinate your appointments, and if you need an emergency appointment, specifically for a lot of our tech clients that need their engineers back, they will accommodate your requests. You just have to ask. Moving to Pakistan, US Embassy in Islamabad resumed routine visa services. They are processing all applications. They are definitely moving faster, but it's still taking a while for applicants to get appointments. We have a lot of clients that are still pending, even from late 2021, and they have not received appointments. It's really getting frustrating. Quite a few cases are being approved for expedite if you meet the requirements of the national interest exceptions. Still continue to try that if you have never tried that before. But in really, really severe cases where applicants are actually pending from early 2021, some of these clients were able to file litigation, mandamus lawsuits against the State Department, and quite a few of these cases are being resolved and people are getting their visa appointments. So again, if your case is stuck, and specifically for those embassies, if you have cases pending in Pakistan and in India and you need help to move cases forward by suing the government, these things actually work. All you have to do is send me a text, 619-483-4549. Let's talk about your case and see how we can get you unstuck. To the US Embassy in Tel Aviv. This embassy resumed routine visa services. They're processing immigrant and non-immigrant visa services. And in some cases, they will take third country nationals. It's definitely less common than before. You're looking back 6 months ago, they were taking more cases. Right now, Tel Aviv is being very, very selective. They already have a backlog as well. They have a lot of cases that they need to process. So if you're trying to send cases to Tel Aviv as a third country national, be very mindful and make sure you get approval from that post before you transfer your case and notify the National Visa Center. They are working quite fast on local cases, and our applicants who are going through IR1, CR1 cases are getting quite faster results, and a lot of K1 cases that are designated to Israel are actually going faster than expected. Moving to the Philippines, the U.S. Embassy in Manila resumed all routine visa services, and yes, while they are working normally, this embassy is still under severe backlog, and this particular post has limited officers to be able to offer visa interviews and appointments, and as a result it's taking a little bit slower. So while they're open and they're processing cases, including non-immigrant visas, including K1 visas, they are still behind. And if you have a case designated for Manila, you need to do whatever you can to still be on top of your case. Check and follow up with National Visa Center every single month. And if your case is going to be sent to the US Embassy in Manila, please be diligent and email them. They will get back to you within a week. And as I mentioned before, if your case is designated for that embassy, you will eventually get an interview and your processing will resume. But remember, the National Visa Center, they're not able to send your case over there until embassies are opening slots for interviews. Moving to Mexico, we have a lot of clients that are sitting pending at Ciudad Juarez, cases designated to Ciudad Juarez in Mexico. And right now, the National Visa Center is not sending that many cases over there because the embassies and consulates in Mexico are not open on routine visa services. Cases change from city to city. Mexico City is different than Juarez, and Juarez is different than Guadalajara. So it's just very complicated. It's very difficult to get information from posts over there. But what we do know is that a lot of people that are designated for interviews in Ciudad Juarez also are waiting for the waivers to be approved. They're the 601 hardship waivers. And my suggestion for you is that if you have an interview scheduled and your waiver is not adjudicated yet, you need to reschedule an interview. Don't take other people's space because nothing is going to happen until your waiver is approved. So the best idea with Mexico is that wait for your waiver to be approved and only then get your interview scheduled. And this way you'll open slots for other people that are waiting. Again, they're very slow in terms that they're not fully reopened, and hopefully this is going to change this summer. To the U.S. Embassy in Bangkok. The U.S. Embassy in Bangkok resumed routine visa services. They're working pretty fast. It seems that this embassy is staffed properly. They're processing applications. And as of this recording, they're also processing third country nationals. Applicants that are applying for countries in the area that need a little bit of faster processing can request Bangkok to look at their case. And if they approve it, in terms of reviewing your case at that post, you can notify National Visa Center and they will be able to designate this particular embassy as your embassy for the interview. Also, the U.S. Embassy in Bangkok is one of those embassies that have a lot of interview waivers in process. They've really perfected that system over there. So if you're lucky enough to be in Thailand, you may be able to get your interview waived if you're applying for an extension or any other sort of visa renewal. Moving to the United Kingdom, the U.S. Embassy in London resumed routine visa services. This embassy was not open properly for a long time, and right now things are coming back to normal. They are reporting faster processing, they have enough staff, and they are geared to tackle those backlogs. So if your case is designated for London, I feel that you're not going to see too much delay from the time MVC consider your case to be documentary qualified until the time they'll send your case to London once they open slots. Now remember, a lot of people that are watching my videos, they want to start expediting their cases. They want to be able to consider suing the government to move their case faster. Remember that it's not enough just to be documentary qualified. You also have to make sure that there is a visa current available for you to be able to use. For example, watch our visa bulletin videos. We do them every month, and you can understand when your visa will become current. If your visa is not current, that means that there's not enough visas to issue at that particular month, and therefore even if your document is complete, you're not going to be able to move anywhere until your visa becomes current. So remember those terms. Google this inside my channel so you can find those videos where I explain how to use the visa bulletin and how to check your priority date every single month. Moving to the Dominican Republic, the U.S. Embassy in Santo Domingo resumed routine visa services, and this embassy is now working full capacity. They do in-person interviews, non-immigrant visas, and quite a few applicants are applying in the Dominican Republic for their O1 visa extensions, E2 visa extensions. This is being used as a third country national post. So for the moment, as the time of this recording, they're still doing that. What you have to do is email that post and see if they will take your case for an interview. And if that's the case, you'll be able to do that. They're also implementing a lot of interview waivers in this particular post. So if you qualify for an interview waiver, you'll be processed accordingly at this particular embassy. Moving to Brazil, U.S. embassies and consulates in Brazil resumed routine visa services. They're processing K1s, IR1s, CR1s, also non-immigrant visas, as well as employment-based categories, EB2, EB3s. Brazil experienced large backlogs during the pandemic, and they are finally now recovering, specifically U.S. Post. So if your case is designated for Brazil, make sure that you communicate with National Visa Center to make sure that the embassy opened interview slots to send your case over, and at that point you'll be able to follow up with the embassy directly. Moving to Kenya, U.S. Embassy in Nairobi resumed routine visa services. They're processing a lot of applications, KR1s, IR1s, CR1 cases, as well as non-immigrant visas and employment-based categories. This embassy has been really effective in the past few months. They've been really working fast and respond to emails really fast. It's been a pleasure to work with them. So if you have cases designated in Nairobi, I encourage you to communicate with the embassy directly. They will respond to you, and processing has resumed normally. Moving to the U.S. Embassy in Bogota, Colombia. This embassy resumed routine visa services for both immigrant and non-immigrant visas. We still see a lot of delays, especially in non-immigrant visas, people that are applying for H-1Bs, E-2 visas, student visas. There's definitely significant delays, despite the fact that this embassy reopened routine visa services. We have seen better communication on the immigrant visa side. So if you have cases pending in Bogota, Colombia, expect to see movement. Specifically, once your case becomes documentary qualified, you should be able to see an interview coming back to you shortly. Moving to U.S. Embassy in Madrid, Spain. Spain has resumed routine visa services. They are processing now K1 visas, IR1, CR1 cases, family petition. They've been stuck for a long time. This particular post has increased staffing as well. There's more consular officers that came, then trained. So it's going to be curious to see what's going to happen in the next few months, how fast this particular post is going to be processing cases. We've been receiving reports that F1 visas and H1B visas and E2 visas have been significantly delayed in Madrid. So hopefully we'll see better movement in the next few months. And finally, U.S. embassies in China, consulates in Beijing, Guangzhou resumed routine visa services. Consulate General in Wuhan is offering only limited visa services at the moment. So again, if you have cases that are designated for China, it's time for you to follow up with NVC to see what's going on. And U.S. embassies are going to start opening interview slots. I predict it's still going to be very slow, even though they're reopened. They still have a lot of issues there with backlogs, with short staff, and other issues that are kind of a result direct of what happened during the pandemic. Hopefully I'll have more information by China in the next few months, but this is all we have for the moment. This embassy to report is the U.S. Embassy in Nigeria, Lagos. This particular post is not resumed routine visa services. They're working in limited capacity, processing very few K1 and other non-immigrant visas, as well as IR1, CR1s, and other family petitions. Still pretty slow, still understaffed, and very, very difficult to get any responses from the U.S. Embassy in Lagos. So if you're designated for Lagos, you can try other things, see if you can expedite your petition if you qualify. And in many, many cases, there's no choice but to sue the government. Once again, if you need help to get your case unstuck, move forward, all you have to do is send me a text, 619-483-4549. I'm here to help you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.